cover until we have strength. We cover until we have nations wait. We behold until we have fun. How long can you wait? We behold until we have fun. How long can you wait on me? We behold until we have fun. How long can you wait? How long can you wait? We behold until we have fun. If it takes an eternity, will you wait? How long can you wait?
Hello there and welcome to The Forge. The Forge podcast is designed for men, by men, and courtesy of the Redeemers Fellowship of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Region 51, Tabernacle of David. It is our pleasure to welcome you, all our viewers, all our subscribers, wherever you are, once again to another very interesting episode of The Forge podcast. The Forge is where we have the real, raw, and rarely spoken conversations about what it means to be a man in today's contemporary and VUCA world, where men come to be shaped and not to be shamed. The Forge is where we talk about the real stuff, the pressure, the pain, the pride, the purpose of being a man in a world that expects so much, yet often understands so little. The Forge is where we are. So wherever you are listening from, I invite you this morning to lean in and join the conversation. In episode 1, we took a deep dive into the very intriguing topic of money matters. So the title was, So My Money is Our Money and Your Money is Your Money. So, if you're yet to listen to episode 1, I'm reaching out to you this morning saying kindly check out all our social media handles to get the full dose. We are now available on your favorite YouTube and Spotify apps. Let me introduce everyone to episode 2 on the Forge podcast. My name is Kingsley Ifoga once again, and the topic we'll be treating today says, why should I get married? Why should I get married? Of course, we're looking closely on money matters, but I'm not alone in the house. Shortly, I'm going to be introducing our special guest. So, for today's topic, why should I get married? Men are told, get rich and then get married. But here's the truth. Some rich men are avoiding marriage, and some broke men are jumping into marriage without a plan. So, which one is crazier? We're going to uncover these things in today's episode. Today, we are breaking it down if marriage in 2025 is a blessing, is a burden, or just bad business for men, because the decision to marry has always been deeply personal for many men. But in today's VUCA world, marriage isn't just about romance or companionship. It is about responsibility, expectations, and yes, the stark realities of money. And that's exactly what we're going to explore today, the financial, emotional, and social realities of marriage for men. I'm confident that by unpacking these realities on today's episode, we as men can gain a deeper understanding of how money, identity, and relationship intersect in shaping the modern man's path to marriage. Let me quickly introduce our guest for today. I'm so delighted. First, we have Pastor Amadi. Over 27 years of experience in and beyond Nigeria's print media ecosystem. We have in the house with us as a special guest our very beloved Pastor Amadi. He has expertise in business development, macro, small and medium enterprise engagement, conferencing, event design, planning, and activation. He's skilled in PR, media relations, and management. He's got a professional background as the former executive director at Business News Corp Limited, publishers of Business AM, leading partnerships, conferences, events, and operations, including driving business growth. He was previously executive director at Business Day while overseeing conferences, events, training, and the research unit. He's got a strong background in business development, sales, and marketing across media and related sectors. In addition, Pastor Amadi is an ordained pastor and also the resident pastor here at the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Tabernacle of David, Ajah, Lagos. Pastor Amadi is married to Pastor Bukola and is blessed with 4 children. Pastor Amadi, good morning and welcome to the studio.
Good morning. It's my pleasure.
So glad to have you here. Thank you, sir. We also have one of our dynamic personalities in the house, Pastor Ayodeji. Pastor Ayodeji is the board chairman, Standard Chartered Capital and Advisory Nigeria. He is also the board executive director, Standard Chartered Bank Nigeria, and the managing director, Head Markets Africa at Standard Chartered Bank. For 25 plus years, he's gained vast banking experience. He is happily married to Adetong, blessed with 3 children, Ayolua, Ubani, and Oluwafemi-Dara. Pastor Deji, you're welcome to the Forge podcast this morning.
Good morning and thank you. Very glad to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. And on the other hand, we have the very well prepared bachelors so that we have an holistic view of today's topic. 2 very vibrant young bachelors in the house. Quickly, I'll read the profile. We have here with us a young and vibrant Mr. Ukahi Michael. Ukahi Michael is a certified tax practitioner with a bachelor's degree in taxation from the University of Jos. He brings a strong track record in tax compliance, planning, and advisory, supporting both individuals and corporations. He is known for his analytical mindset and integrity. Michael helps clients minimize tax liabilities and maintain full regulatory compliance. His approach is clear, compliant, and forward-thinking, aimed at driving financial efficiency and excellence. Michael is a member of the Issachar generation, the very vibrant youth arm of Tabernacle of David. Mr. Michael, you're welcome to the Forge Studio.
Thank you so very much.
So glad to have you.
Thank you so much.
I trust you have a lot to share with us today.
Absolutely.
Definitely. We have also in the house the young and vibrant Mr. Joseph Asukwo. Joseph Asukwo is a business development manager, a human resource personnel. He is also a team coach and administrator. For 10 years, by God's grace, he's been able to successfully groom teenagers into their full potential and capacity. Above all, Joseph boasts himself to be a child of God. Very proud, very confident about his faith in Jesus. It is his pleasure to lead the music department at the Issachar generation, the youth arm of Tabernacle of David. We say a big welcome to you, Joseph Asukwo.
Thank you.
How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good.
You're looking cool and calm, which is very unlike you. So welcome once again, our dearly beloved guests, and to our viewers, our listeners out there, we say a big welcome to episode 2 of the Forge podcast, for men and by men. So we're going straight into the main menu for today. There are 5 segments of question areas we're going to touch, and I'm going to be reaching out to each of us, to draw insight on our responses to these questions. Now, we find ourselves in a generation that is recalculating what it means to be ready for marriage. We say it's a VUCA world. But this morning we are trying to discover why marry at all? Why marry at all? So, key talking point would be, is marriage still relevant for men today? The cultural and societal expectations versus personal choice. The role of finances in a man's decision to marry, And there are, of course, open-ended questions we're going to consider. Why do men decide to get married? Do you think the pressure to marry comes from family, society, or from self? And finally, what's the meaning of marriage? Has the meaning for marriage for men changed over the years, especially financially? So let's dive into the first topic, the big question: why marry at all? Why marry at all? I'll reach out to Pastor Madi. Sir, Is marriage still relevant for men today? Should men marry at all? How do you respond to that, sir?
Thank you, Kingsley. Absolutely, 100%. I agree, and I believe that marriage is still very important. Men should continue to get married. If you're not yet married, plan to get married, prepare to get married.
Yeah.
And my reasons will not be far-fetched. Number one is that God ordained marriage, and it is for the purpose that He orders society through families that made Him to ordain marriage. So there is a purpose for marriage that God wants to achieve upon the earth through marriage.
For marriage.
So my getting married is me aligning with the plan of God, first of all. So if I align with God, if I say yes with God, that God, I am going to be part of the person that you will use to bring about your plan and your purpose for society through marriage, through family. So that's one reason why I have to get married. Number two reason is that God tells us Himself that there are blessings inherent when a man marries. For instance, He says that any man that finds a woman finds a good thing
Indeed.
and obtains the favor of God.
Yeah.
So that's the blessing that comes through marriage or from marriage. So do I want to be blessed? And of course, I want to be blessed. So if there is a source of blessing that can come to me through marriage, why don't I access it?
Amazing.
Right? So my third reason, to be blessed is that there is a reward of labor through marriage. When a man gets an employment, the reason why a man that is unemployed who want to seek employment in any field of endeavor would be that he is looking at the reward that comes with the responsibility that is going to be assigned to him, the problems that he is going to solve, the tasks that he is going to undertake. So when you have done your part, it is the responsibility of your employer to now say, thank you. You have done well for us as an organization. So God rewards couples, people who get together in a marriage relationship. And that's why Scripture says that it's a reward for two, that when they lie together, they will produce heat.
Yeah.
Remember.
True.
So that's one reason again why someone has to marry. You need that reward. You can't be far away from that reward. Don't shy away from getting that reward. And my number 4 reason why a man should get married and why I also got married is because there is strength and support that God has built into marriage, right? The Bible says that when God made man, He made man first and He saw that the man was alone and said, it's not good for a man to be alone. He wanted to use that to solve the issue, the challenges of loneliness. He wanted also to use that to solve the issue of companionship. He wanted to use that also to teach man and the woman responsibility. And he also wanted to use that to make us understand that there is strength when two people come together. And there is support. Don't forget, he said, it is not good for a man to be alone, and so I am going to make him a helpmeet. Now, that is in the King James Version. If you look at the Message Bible, the helpmeet is translated to read helper or companion. So, do you need help? Is there anyone alive that does not need help? And a woman can be a help. A man can be a helper. These are the reasons why I believe that marriage is still very, very important, significant for us to achieve the visions of God and His plan and purpose for our lives.
Amazing.
Thank you.
amazing. Thank you so much, Pastor Madi. I mean, amazing responses. And what stood out for me is when he said, uh, there is a blessing that you get from getting married. Very key, because I mean, how would you want to go through life knowing God's blessings for you and knowing exactly what to do to get the blessing and then not doing it at all? So that was a response to the question, is marriage still relevant for men today? Thank you, Pastor Madi. I would move on to Pastor Ayodeji. There is a concern that marriage is a cultural and societal expectation from a man rather than a self decision. How do you respond to that, sir? That marriage is a cultural and societal expectation demanded from a man as compared to marriage being a personal decision as a man. How do you respond to that, Pastor DG?
Thank you very much. I think we need to put it clearly. Marriage is not the only time where people will be under pressure to meet up with societal demands. And there will be all sorts of pressure for a young man. So for anybody who is getting into marriage, it is not for children. It has to be for people who are mature, people who are broken away from pressure. So beyond societal pressure, it has to be your personal choice. Because everybody's getting married does not mean I must get married, and that is scriptural. There are people who are born celibate, okay, and they are graced for it. So if you're not graced for celibacy, the marriage admonishes us to marry. So it should be and must be compulsorily a personal choice. It should never be societal pressure. It must be that I have fully considered what marriage is about. I understand the responsibility, and I can tell that I'm mature enough to handle marriage and then get into it. But like I said, it has to be that you break away from every form of cultural, societal expectation, not just in marriage, but in every aspect of life. You must do it by yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor D. That marriage is a personal decision, over being a cultural or societal expectation. Indeed, indeed. And to the young gentlemen in the house, the role of finance in a man's decision to marry. We're not married, right?
Yes.
So I want to see how we respond to the concern that finance has a major role to play in a man's decision to get married. Michael, how do you respond to that?
First off, I'll start by saying that I don't think there will be any prosperous marriage without the element of finance. Finance is so very much important, even in our day-to-day activities. One thing about finance is that if as a person, you are not so in depth, you're not so very careful, it's a very critical matter when it comes to marriage. The advice I would give to young men like myself, before we climb that ladder of getting married, or when we get a spouse, we should be very open. Because if you want to build a relationship based off on assumption, it's going to be a very big problem. So be very open to your spouse when you want to get married. So in the area of finance, you let her know that, okay, for example, I'm earning 200,000. You meet a lady and you tell her that you're earning 200,000 naira. So the lady should not be expecting you to get something for her that is beyond and above that money. So because you're already plain to her, you are very open that, okay, this is how much I'm earning. So the area of finance is a very critical matter, because at the end of the day, if you don't establish that fact that this is how much I'm earning, this is how much my own pocket can buy.
Can afford,
Yeah, so
and
they'll
plan around that amount.
plan around that amount. There's going to be assumption. And when there are assumptions in relationship and marriage, it becomes a problem. Because the woman will assume you have, and you are not
You're willing to.
you're not willing to
do
give.
more.
But in an event where maybe you even get married to the lady now and you're not very open with this finance thing, it can break up the home. Because I'll give a very critical example. If you're married to a lady and at the very beginning you've told her, Madam, this is how much I'm earning, 200,000 naira. And when this money comes in, you say, this is for the housekeep. This is for my own day-to-day
Daily
running.
runs, yeah.
This is for the kids.
Okay.
She has understood that, my husband understands how finances should be run. So she has a clear picture on how things should go. So, but she's not living based on assumption now. At the point where you as a man doesn't have, she understands that, my husband does not have. He has made it clear to me that this and this and this are the income he gets on a daily basis. So I shouldn't be expecting more than that amount of money. So the area of finance, to me, in summary, we should be very open when we come to the area of finance. Be very transparent. Financial honesty is very key.
Be very transparent. It's been said that assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. So when we assume, we most times will make a mistake. That's what you're saying. Thank you so much, Michael. So Joe, how do you respond to the fact that finance has a major role to play in a young man's decision to get married?
Okay, so I would also agree with Michael. Finance is very important. I mean, money is very, money drives almost everything, right? And before one gets married, even as a young man, I would never underestimate the place of finance. At least it should be stable to a large extent. Now, it's not you having everything per se, but to a reasonable extent, you should know that. For me now, I always tell myself, I should be able to cater for not just me and my wife, but for my child to come. Because anything can happen. You might plan that you don't want to have a child until next 2 years or 1 year and all of that. And anything can happen in between. That night,
The child just pops
that
up.
night, the child comes in and then there is no money to take care of the child. What then do you do? That's my point of view here. I just believe that to a large extent, there should be some kind of financial level you should attain before getting married. And I was also going to talk about transparency, which he also mentioned. There should be an agreement as well between you and your intending partner, right? On, okay, this is what you're earning, like you mentioned. This is, if you are doing a business, this is your income per month. And you have an agreement that you can both work with that. And she's also, she has something she's as well doing. That both of you put together, okay, you can actually make something out of it at the end of the day. There should be that agreement, there should be that understanding. Even the Bible says, can two work together except they be agreed, yeah? So there should be an agreement between both parties so that not when you get into the marriage and then she starts discovering that, it does not even have this thing, it does not have that, and there was just an assumption that things are there. You know, sometimes people might look like they have it, but they do not have it actually. So there should be that understanding that we can live in this particular place, we can afford to stay here, we can afford to stay in a 1-room or a 2-room apartment or whichever way. But then finance is very important. It is very key. There's no how we want to, especially in this country now.
World.
Especially in this country, in
Today's
this
Nigeria.
regime right now, we know what the economy is saying. It's not smiling. Even for our own personal, as an individual, we know how much we tend to want to manage our expenses, what we eat, how we spend, how much more when it's now more than a person. And don't forget that there's a place of, especially as a guy, and if you are the first guy like myself, right, you still have family to take care of. You still have maybe your mom, you still have your siblings and to take care of, as well as getting into marriage, which is another level of financial responsibility on its own. So there should be a, should I say, structure or a breakdown before you actually take that decision. Unless God has just said, go launch into the deep and you go in there and do that. But otherwise, I just believe that there should be that level of financial attainment before you get into marriage.
Marriage, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much from the young bachelors in the house. Still touching on the money subject, we will move on to the second segment: money before marriage. Money before marriage. Now, there was a research I did in preparation for this topic, and I discovered on certain websites. So there was a poll that was done, and it was discovered that 73% of young adults say marriage is too expensive. You know, that sample size, 73% of that sample size, young adults particularly say marriage is too expensive. And a shocking 91% believe being financially independent is a must before tying the knot. Very scary figure, but I mean, that's why we are having this conversation this morning. And over 75% of this number still feel delaying marriage gives them the time to get their finances in order. So, 3 case study with that sample size. One, 73% say marriage is too expensive. 91% believe being financially independent is a must before tying the knot. And then the third says 75% of this number feel that delaying marriage will give them ample time to put their finances in order. But if you draw from the last statement Joseph said, in today's Nigeria, does that ring true that delaying marriage will give you ample time to put your finances in order? We're going to be examining some questions to help us gain insight. We're looking at financial readiness. Is it a myth or a reality? Can a man with just enough be a great husband? And then what's the impact of debt, savings, and career phase on marriage decisions? Again, our first question will go to Pastor Amadi. Sir, should a man reach a certain financial level before considering marriage?
I agree that having to prepare, be ready financially to get married is important.
Okay.
But at the same time, you ask the question you ask yourself, how much do you really need to accumulate before you get into this? And that is the reason why in the mission, the Redeemed Christian Church of God, there is, an allowance that just helps you to understand that where you need to be. So if you have a job or you have something that you earn from, and you have a place you put your head, and you are ready, you're prepared, because it's not only the finance that you are required to consider when preparing for marriage.
Yes, sir.
But
yes, sir.
As it is today, it just looks like
Money
what
first.
we are thinking about is just the money. Because marriage should be what two people that are ready, that they have told themselves, I want to get married, should think about and should get into. And so, how much do you need to accumulate? If you're stable, you have a job and you're stable in your job, and you're earning something that you know, at a point you can tell yourself. So it's all about preparation.
Yeah.
It's all about saying to yourself, I have gotten a job, or I'm doing a business, and I have gotten a place where I can put my head. You may not own it, but it depends on how much you're able to get in terms of your pay by the time you get into job, and the number of years you probably have done the job, and based on how much you're paid, you're able, you have the capacity to own your own house. That's fine. But if it's not your own house or apartment, nothing wrong at that time. But you can say, I can feed myself. I can also, put a cover over my head. And mentally, I am ready. And emotionally, I am ready. And spiritually, I am ready. It's like a man that is going to embark on a journey. There are preparations that need to be made. If that journey will require you take your vehicle, you would have to check whether there is fuel in your car. You would have to check whether there is oil in the engine. You will have to check whether your tires have the right pressure. All of this you have to prepare. Okay. You have to know the distance you're going to cover. And in the preparation, it's just like getting into marriage. You tell yourself, okay, how much do I really need to get into marriage? And it's because society today, we find even young people competing with themselves. Indeed. And so they see things on social media. This is how this man has the level of money spent. And they want to tell themselves, my marriage is going to be the next big thing in town. It's going to be the most talked about.
And that leads to so much pressure.
And that you put yourself under pressure.
Yes.
So Pastor Gigi talked about, it has to be something you decide yourself you're going to do. You do not have to allow society or anyone, culture, to put you under pressure. So, but when you are pandering towards what you're finding other people do, right, you're going to be inviting that pressure that you should be taken away from yourself. And that is going to require, meaning that you're going to require so much to get ready to get married. And another thing that is important that is, that we are seeing is that a lot of parents are now beginning to think that their dear child is their very quick source to wealth or to financial settlement or stability. And so by the time the young man gets to the point that he's getting ready to get married and wants to make inquiry as to what is going to be required, he may begin to hear some curious, amazing figures. And that alone, for someone who hasn't gotten that or stable, it can throw the person off balance. And that is why we can see that today, young people are getting afraid. They are thinking that marriage is all about acquiring money, amassing money before you can delve into it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. In fact, that's a lot of feedback from that response. So now to Pastor D. Pastor D, earlier you had emphasized that marriage is more a self-decision than a societal or cultural decision. So in that light, how would you respond to the question that is there ever a perfect time financially to get married? Is there ever a perfect time financially to make that marriage decision for a young man?
Thank you very much. So I will try to circle back to these answers provided by the young men in the studio, as well as a few things that Pastor Matthew said. So for me, it is to say that, look, how do we measure financial readiness? The mistake I think most young men make is to assume it is the money in your bank account. That is totally flawed, totally wrong. And I'll give an example. The prodigal son was given a large sum of money or wealth, and he wasted that. If you're going to measure readiness at the time that son was given so much money, we will assume he was ready. The reality is he wasn't ready because he was soon going to waste all of that money. So being financially ready, and I hope we take time to think about this, particularly for young men, is that you have value and you have potential. What that means is in the future, you have a capacity to earn. All right. It may not even necessarily be in place at the time you're getting married. Okay. But how well positioned are you to tap into current? Because currency is current. So you must carry value for that current to flow in your direction. It is possible that at the time you're wedding, okay, and we need to make a distinction between the wedding ceremony and marriage
And
itself.
marriage,
Marriage
yes.
itself will be that you're living together. You can worry about the wedding expense and all of that. That is not the focus. The focus is the two of you now living together um, and staying together, in which case there will be responsibility for both of you to manage. So it is more about value. What value do you carry? What potential do you have? How driven are you? Right? In the future, can you become greater than you have started? And I say this, and I can use myself as an example. Getting married, uh, myself and my wife, we had nothing practical. We got married a year after youth service. I
Wow.
like to say that our living room was a football pitch. In other words, you could play football unhindered. There was nothing, no furniture in that
Easy.
living room. But we had a small stove. We had a mattress on the floor, but we had roof over our head. Fast forward several years from now, that is history, right? You cannot measure where we started from to where we are. But at that time, whatever made us to have arrived where we have arrived was there. All right. So the truth is, you must have value. You must be driven. You must have potentials. You must understand how money works, and you must be positioned to attract money or finance. So let's not use today's bank account or anything to measure finances. That I want to make clearly and establish that clearly. Now, who are you getting married to? Which brings into the fore the issue of transparency, right? Both of you must understand where you're starting from, how you intend to build, and are both of you mature enough to understand that you're building together. When I was dating my wife in school, for instance, I couldn't afford to buy her anything. The best I could do at some point was to buy her oranges, 6 50s of oranges.
Not
All
today.
right.
Yes, sir.
I was not under any pressure. I was real, and she understood that this is who I was. Did that make me less qualified than the people who could buy houses or things? No, but she could see that this person um, is driven, is committed, he loves God. So we need to know God. If you know God, you have a foundation in God. You're committed to Him. You're not lazy. You're hardworking. The economy is tough, right? But you are determined to break through it, to weather through the storm. The two of you will do better. But marriage, for instance, in my opinion, is not for a lazy man. Okay, you must be able to see to the future and you must be determined to be successful with God's help. And that is the way I like us to measure finances. I'm mindful of time. I can go on and on about this, but we need to be very mindful of this fact. It is not money in your pocket, it is not money in your bank account. It is what you have value or potential to attract on a going forward basis. By all means, it is possible your wife has enough money today, or your intended spouse has enough money today, and you decide to marry. So long as you're not lazy or just taking advantage of her, if she's willing and you both know you are naked to yourselves, by all means go ahead. In the future, if you're not able to do what she's doing today, you kick it. And that was my own story, and we can go on and on. But let me stop there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor D. Thank you very, very much. Young men, I mean, we are allowed to react to feedback, whether by laughing or challenging what you heard, okay? We don't need to be too so relaxed and, yeah. But let me draw from what Pastor D said. Two things. One, he said you should have value and have potential. In business line, I will rephrase that to be you should have a straight line of sight to revenue if you intend to get married. So you don't have the finances yet, but there is a straight line of sight to revenue while making that decision. And number two, he said you should be bare to the lady. I think Michael said something about that earlier, where you have to be as transparent as possible to the lady about what exactly you are either earning or, as it were, working to earn. And that was a fantastic response to the question: is there ever a perfect time financially to get married? Pastor D he has already led us into the third segment, where he differentiated the wedding from marriage. There are two different things. The wedding is an event. The marriage, as it were, is a lifetime, right? So the third segment says money after marriage. However, it's going to be money after the wedding. Joe,
Yeah, I guess.
you get that now. So money after the wedding, because the marriage it can't be money after marriage, being that the marriage is for a lifetime, correct?
Exactly.
So money after the wedding to the young men. So there was a survey that I did over in planning for this. Let me hit you with this. Now, the survey says 21% of married couples had never talked about debt with their partner. 21%. That's about a quarter percentile, but it's quite a big number. Where 21 out of 100, 21 are saying they've never spoken to their partner about debt at any point in time, though married. I mean, I had a friend, I hope he's not watching me now. So himself and his spouse, as a then, got married. I got married in April of 2021. He got married in June, July. Though I'm sure I have his privilege to share this. And then fantastic wedding, big wedding, colorful wedding. We were working together at the time. And then towards the end of that year, the guy just pulled me aside and, bros, Alpha, it needs A, it needs B, it requires C. Guy, I thought you are doing better than me. And then he divulged to me that, let him be honest, they are still paying bills from the wedding. This is about 4 or 5 months later. Still paying bills. This is a sound accountant. This is a big guy. And how did you miss it? He said, now the lady, she had arranged a lot of other things without his consent and just showed up and said, see you, and we have to pay for them, And he was compelled to raise the money to sort them. But down the line, from July till December, they were still sorting bills, right? So finance after the wedding. Finance after the wedding. I said that for the first survey, 21% of married couples had never talked about debt with their partner. And then for the second set, 28% admitted to hiding significant purchases or debt from the spouses. 28%. Still a quarter percentile, but that's substantial. That out of 100, 28% will say they had hidden significant purchases, from their spouses. So we're going to respond to some questions. I'll push this now to the young guys. Should a man always be the main financial provider in a marriage? Joe, how do you respond to that? Should you as a man always be the main financial provider in a marriage?
Okay, so for me, for that, we know that the man is the head of the home, right? And of course, it's established already that a man is the provider, right, and the woman is the helpmate, and we all know that. But then, depending, I feel like it's also depending on the situation on ground, right? PD mentioned something about a man not being lazy, right? A man could be hardworking, but might not be, I don't want to use the word lucky, but might not be, should I say, privileged to get the fruit of his hard work at that point in time.
To break out early.
Or to break out early at a particular period or a point in time. And the woman or the lady on the other side might be the one actually earning, breaking out, getting the finances, get the money and all of that at that point in time. And that's why we still talk about agreement and understanding, right? If there's an understanding and an agreement, and I think either Pastor Madian or PD mentioned that as well too, she could support or help in that aspect, whilst the man is still trying to gain feet or gain grounds, until it becomes very stable. So, yes, a man should not be lazy, should not be irresponsible. Yeah. But then there are situations, sometimes you cannot just determine how things go. In marriages, I've seen situations where the husband loses his job, and then the woman have to be the one to sustain the home at that point in time, whilst the man is trying to gain his feet back again. So not all cases, but it's not a rule.
It's not cast in
It's
stone.
not cast in stone per se that the man should be the main person, depending on the situation. Right.
All right. Of course, I'll push that question again to Pastor Amadi. How do you respond to that, sir? You know, that should a man always be the main financial provider in a marriage?
Well, I think Joseph touched on it a bit, and I like to put it in this way. It depends on the circumstance. It depends on the understanding.
Okay.
So, for instance, you have couple who come together, and the man is working, and we assume that before they got married, they would have discussed it and agreed on how they are going to live together as husband and wife and run the family. So, for instance, some may say, okay, I will work or do what I'm doing, business or be in employment, but we would like that we look after our children very well. So instead of you also pursuing a career, so what if you own a shop and do business, or you go into a career or job that allows you time to keep the family. In other words, you're able to look after the children. So, for instance, in that circumstance, the wife might be a school teacher,
Okay.
or she may be running a shop, a business. And so that allows her to go out and come in on time, so she has time for the children. So if that is the arrangement that is understandable to both of them, then it means that the man will always have to do more to make up for what gaps would come or exist because of what the woman is doing that does not allow her to earn as much as the man, and to do as much. So, but the man doesn't, there is no culture. Okay, so let's say that it was a cultural thing for the man to be the one taking care of the home, providing everything that is required. And also, it also stems from a bit of what I have explained. Because those days you have some percentage of women who were educated as well and who had jobs that they were doing. And so they were not in large percentage than those whose husbands were the sole provider, either because of the kind of thing they were doing, either farmers or they were trading or something. Okay, so but it's not cast in stone that a man should be the sole provider of all the finances required. And especially in the times that we see, young women are, doing better. They are getting more educated as well.
True.
They are getting into good jobs, thriving career. They are earning well as well. And so they are having financial capacity as well to take on, supportive role or responsibility in the home.
Interesting. I did a research, matter of fact, and I discovered that there's been loads of opportunities, professional opportunities for far more ladies than the male folk. There's in tech right now, there are loads of opportunities, whether by sponsorship, scholarships, targeted mainly at the female folks. And that's opening up a whole big opportunity to help the females, being equal earners like the male folk. Quick question to Mr. Michael. I could almost challenge you that, why are you not married? I mean, I read your profile, a professional, you are doing well, and the verbs are just excellent. But I would rather put this to you, that how does marriage affect a man's financial freedom or career growth? How does marriage, I know you're not married, but I'm sure you are either thinking of getting married, or if you're not, you want to think it through. How does marriage affect a man's financial freedom or career growth? Have you thought about it? Do you want to just give us a bit of insight?
Marriage affects a man's growth in two ways. It can either be positive or negative. Negative in the sense that when you come into marriage,
Okay.
just like as the Bible said that a man will leave his father's house, cleave to a woman, and they become one. So there's oneness now. So in that way, you don't have the autonomy to do things on your own. When it comes to the area of finance, you have to actually go back to your wife to do some critical consultation before you can make some certain expenses, especially when you and your wife have decided that, okay, well, let's have a joint account. For example, now let's have a joint account, or let's have an investment account where you get funds from those accounts to cater for the family and do all the expenses in the house.
Okay.
So I think that way, you actually don't need to be too fast when it comes to that aspect. So like I said, it is very, very, very important that man should not be the... so when it comes to that aspect of marriage, it is key. So like I said...
Let me help you put perspective
Okay.
here. So let me rephrase something for you. For example, do you think that you will grow faster in your career, or you would have more financial freedom being unmarried or delaying marriage as compared to getting married maybe early?
Okay.
Do you understand?
I understand that.
All
So
right.
like I said, that is the negative part. The positive part is when you and your wife come together. You understand? So that way it helps you to build together.
Okay.
There is togetherness now.
Synergy.
So synergy, and that synergy now helps the family to build. But in the area of career, I think before you can get married, or before you get married,
Okay.
you would want to say, okay, I want to attain a certain number of figures in my bank account before I can even think of getting married. If you look at how the opposite sex, female genders now are performing in the career world now, everybody is growing. So to me, I feel it affects you more positively when you come together to build a career with a woman that also has a vision that, okay, oh, this is what I have doing. Let's come together and hit the nail running. So I think it has a more positive impact when you are married than a more negative one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it has a more positive
impact when you are married with a woman that is doing well.
Okay.
In career or business.
So you're creating a
So there is an exception. Yeah, there is an exception to that statement.
Joe, let's hear from you. Thank you so much, Michael.
Okay, I would like to add to that. So I think it's also, like we mentioned earlier, right? It also depends on who are you getting married to, right? There's some marriage we already established in the beginning of this conversation. That marriage is a blessing, right? It's a gift. So blessing cuts across every aspect, and it could be your career as well too. I've seen real life situations where a guy might not necessarily be doing well per se, and then gets married, and career-wise, this person's career skyrockets and I know that it's because of the blessing of marriage, right, attached to it. And then there are some ladies that will actually give you that push to want you to become better as a man, not because you're not doing better, but then they said two heads are better than one. Now there is someone else, but that's called your other significant other rather, right? To actually push you or even open your eyes to more opportunities and better things than you think you know. So you might think sometimes as a man, you might even think you know everything, right? But then you get married or you are in a relationship, you are dating a lady that as well is career-oriented, career-driven, and she might even know more than you and would actually give you a good path to follow to becoming better. And you see yourself getting married to this person, and within 1 year, 2 years, you just see yourself...
A lot of transformation
has taken place. So it just depends on whoever you are getting married to.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. Thank you very much. I mean, we have very fantastic responses there. So, in other words, we as men are saying we are for marriage. We encourage marriage because there's a whole lot of blessings and positive transformation that could come from there. We're moving on to the fourth segment. Fourth segment says emotional and mental health angle emotional and the mental health angle. Again, another survey that I did. Now, back in the 70s and 80s, I'm sure Joe and Michael may not be able to relate to this, but yeah. So back in the 70s and 80s, around 80% of Nigerian couples were married by the age of 20 to 25. 70s, 80s, these are our dads, grandfathers, uncles, a lot of them, they're still around right now. 80% of Nigerian couples were married by 20 to 25. That's not the experience anymore, bro. I got married just shy of above 30. Because a lot of things had to be sorted out. Today, a staggering 25% of 40-year-olds have never been married. And 40% of 30-year-olds are not even considering marriage at all. Let me go over the numbers again. 80% of Nigerian couples in the 70s and 80s were married by 20 to 25 years. Today, 2025, based on the data that I had gathered, a staggering 25% of 40-year-olds never been married. We could go to the church or to our small workspace and do the sample. It should almost ring true. And 40% of 30-year-olds are not considering marriage. We could walk into TIG and just do a sample size and discover that this is starkly true. So, key talking points, we're going to look at the mental weight of being a husband and financial provider, the money issues that can affect love and intimacy, and then the importance of communication and mutual support. So the first question, this will go to Pastor AG. Sir, how does financial pressure in marriage affect a man's mental health? Because in my interaction with a couple of people while trying to plan for this, the young men are saying, they don't want to bother their head. They're not ready for responsibility. In fact, the key word is they don't want commitment yet. And I'm wondering, because I don't know, maybe background has something to contribute. This is what we'll uncover. But sir, how does financial pressure, as it were, and other factors in marriage affect a man's mental health?
Thank you very much. Let me, on a lighter note, say that in the 2000s as well, people were getting married at 25, of which I am one.
Oh wow!
So I got married at 25.
Amazing.
My wife was also 25.
Amazing.
Like I said, we were straight out of youth service. A year after. Now, to answer your question, to the men folk, because we have scripturally meant to be the head, quote and unquote. Society expects us to provide, and the man is naturally driven to care for his family. To understand how the reverse is for the woman, a woman who has not had a child will do everything to make sure she conceives and has a baby. That is the exact same opposite for the man who wants to come to the table, the man who is responsible. In which case, except you have allowed God to mature you, you will be under undue pressure. Which then goes to affect your mental stability ultimately. If you do not understand times and seasons, if you don't understand the need to ask for help, if you don't understand the need to lean on your partner when necessary, okay? So the mere pressure of wanting to provide for your family will lead to a mental breakdown. And that calls, for instance, for planning. If you're starting small, right, and you know that you don't have the financial capacity to raise children, that is why there is family planning. If you know you don't have the big wallet to afford a flat, is the reason why you start with one bedroom where necessary. Now, so it is to be able to look at where you are and determine what you're able to afford within your resources. You may not be able to show up now, okay, but you'll show up later. That's where you are. Don't be under any pressure to be like the Joneses. You don't have a car now. For instance, I didn't like to see my wife get into the bus, being pregnant, up into a commercial bus to go to work. But I wasn't pressured. I just knew it was a season. Okay? And these things will happen. Ultimately, what you're unable to do now, so long as you have value and have potential and you're dreaming and you believe in God, those things will pass. It is also not by power, it's not by might.
Indeed.
You have to trust God to bring you that breakthrough. And one principle that God established very early in Scripture is the principle of rest. He put man to rest before he brought him a woman. It means don't let things trouble you. If you're bothered about too many things, then you're going to break down mentally. You must be at rest because if you can't change it, why worry about it? If you can change it, then change it, right? But when you have done all that you can to do, wait for God to bless you and trust in Him. Be confident in that situation and do not be troubled. God will help ultimately. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I mean, that's very soothing. Yeah, it's almost like a balm I should rub. So yeah, well, thank you so much, sir, Pastor D. Next question. We are speaking on money after, rather, we are emotional and mental health angle. Emotional and mental health angle. Pastor D had said, very key phrase, God put the man to rest before he made the woman show up. So we are encouraged, to all the men out there, listeners, subscribers, I mean, we are encouraged to be at rest. Matter of fact, to trust God for his ever unwavering help because he is the author of marriage. The second question will go to Pastor Amadi. Sir, this question is quite, it's insightful. Do men talk enough about their money struggles with their partner? You know, in the course of your experience, either as a pastor or as a business professional, you know, those are the banter that you have and, you know, the side or the counseling that you've been exposed to. How do you respond to the fact that do men actually talk enough? I mean, men are told to man up, you know, be stoic. Don't show your emotions, you know. My father would tell me before a pastor, a man doesn't, you don't cry, you don't don't do that where where your wife would be. And, you know, he raised me like a soldier. So, but do men actually talk enough about their money struggles with their partner?
Well, I don't think so. Clear answer. And then I will try to go into a bit of details why I said so.
All right, sir.
I don't think that men talk enough about their financial struggles because they probably don't want to show how vulnerable they are.
Yeah.
And probably they would have not shown that part of them to the woman while they were courting. So they tried to do everything, provide everything at the period of courtship that the woman needed. And so the woman is already seeing them as a big boy.
As the alpha.
Yeah, so, I mean, so it's difficult for him now to begin to go back
to show less than
what he had already presented before. And that is not the right way to start. And it also does not show maturity. Because like I said, it is not only in the area of finance that we need to prepare or get ready as a man, a woman to get married.
Yes, sir.
I will give this story, and then I would just add one thing, and then I would be done with this question.
All right.
I had a story that a young man wanted to get married and went to his father and said to his father, I want to get married. And his father asked him, are you sure you're ready? He said, yes, because you talked about also emotional issues that could arise as a result of finances.
Yes.
And the man the man said to his father, yes, I'm ready. And the father asked him, you're sure? He said, yes. And the father gave him a chicken. He said, take this chicken home. Go and take care of this chicken. And when the chicken has matured and become a hen, bring it back to me. Then I will know you are ready. And so the man took the chick and went home, kept it, taking care of the chick. And then one day, he put his corn outside to dry and went out. So the chick was in the house, which was already beginning to mature. And then he was coming from where he went to and saw this hen, as it were, eating his corn. So the man quickly, in anger, he took something, a stick, and hit the hen, and he died. And he went back to the father and said, Dad, this hen that you gave to me is dead. And he told his father the story. And the father said, you can see the reason why I told you that you are not yet matured to get married. So it's maturity that you're able to lay bare your struggles, discuss it, let your wife know where the gaps are, what you're able to do, and what you're not able to do, what you're earning, what your income, other sources of income. I mean, the two have come together, and Pastor Deji alluded to it. Scripture says, gives us how this should operate. It said the man and the woman, they were both naked and they were not ashamed. So we should be open to each other in every area, including our finances. And so where you run short, let the woman know what is coming in or what has come in. Let the woman know. Let there be a conversation. I had an experience, quite early when I got married. I had two of my young ones staying with me at the time. I got a salary at a certain month. These two young people needed to write exams, so I needed to register them for the exams. And I brought the money. It was on the center table, on the dining table that we sat. And I gave everybody the money that they needed. And at the end of the day, what was remaining was not much. And I said to them on that dining, I have a wife now, and I need to begin to take care of my wife. And so I am not going to bring my salary and I will distribute it to everybody and I will have nothing left. So from that moment, my wife knew what was coming in. And so there was no need to hide anything. And so we could talk. But it's good that men talk about their financial struggles, their financial earnings with their wife, because they have become one. So in their own absence, the woman should be able to manage and to know exactly what to do.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Pastor Mari, thank you so much. Let's just take a minute or two from Pastor D. How do you contribute to that, sir, that men sharing enough about their money struggles with their partners? Should men do this more often? Because from a bit of interaction, a lot of young guys will flatly not want to do that. How would you want to respond to that, Pastor D, to our listeners, to our subscribers?
I think to put it clearly, any man who is hiding his financial standing from his spouse is wrong 100 million times over. You cannot hide anything from yourself. It therefore means you're not qualified for marriage. You are likely to hit the rocks if you have anything to hide as relates to finances. So every man is encouraged to be vulnerable, is encouraged to be naked and unashamed. And even when you need to, if in marriages where you don't run the same path, if you need to ask your wife for a raise, feel free to do that. Okay? It is not a crime. It is a season. But beyond that, the ideal situation is for you to have a common purse, in which case you don't even have to quote and unquote ask, because it is our money. That is the ideal situation. You both work and you run a family together. God has blessed you together. And there should be oneness and nakedness, not only in sex, but in marriage and in every aspect of life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I mean, that's a lot of agreement from Pastor D and Pastor Madi. Thank you so much. Matter of fact, speaking again to all our listeners, men out there, we are being encouraged to be as open, as transparent, as naked, as vulnerable to our partners regarding all of our money struggles, because we are no longer one and one, but we are together as one. Finally, we're moving into the last segment, the big wrap. Now, there's a question here. What we want to achieve in this fifth segment is we want to rethink marriage not just as a financial move, but as a partnership. Joseph was saying something earlier where if a young man marries a suitable lady who can challenge him or, even help him uncover opportunities, that is an addition to the young man. He becomes a partnership, and not just me versus you, or me or you, but me and you. So, rethinking marriage, not just as a financial move, but as a partnership, number one. Number two, balancing love, purpose, and money in the decision to marry. So I've got one question for the young men before I move on to our beloved pastors. Let me take Michael. I started with you. So, if money was no longer an issue for you, do you think yourself and other young men would be more eager to marry?
Okay, let me start by saying what makes up a good marriage. I think communication,
Okay.
money, sex.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't know that too. Joseph.
I think those three things are the major things that makes up a good marriage.
He heard from someone. He has
He has not experienced it yet.
no experience.
Let me go over your Trinity list again.
Okay.
Money, communication, and I think we might have an episode on that sex matter. But yeah.
Yeah, money, communication, and sex. So
alright.
for the question you asked, if money is not in the picture, I think first off, marriage is beyond just money.
Money.
It is a responsibility that before you go into it, you've factored in your heart that, okay, I want to have a companion. This companion now, how do I treat her? Because if you are bringing in someone into your life, you need to treat that person the way Christ treated the church. Christ loved unexplainably. So this person I'm bringing in now, am I going to conflict the person's life, or am I going to promote the person's life? So finance is just an aspect. It is not the overview of marriage. So, but you have to factor in communication and finance. But communication is something that you can't take away from marriage, because I think eloquent communication keeps the marriage at float. Everybody is in a balanced state. So I think if finance
Was no longer an
was
issue.
no longer an issue, I think more men,
They would jump
on
at getting
yes.
married.
Yes,
Joe,
they would jump at
what's
it.
your opinion? Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, I was trying to agree with that as well too.
Okay.
More men will jump into, but just like you mentioned, I mean, it's not just money is not the
It's not
quotes,
everything.
it's not just the only yardstick. We've mentioned emotional, mental state, and we've been talking about communication. Personally, I am very big on communication, even in friendship, and talk more of relationship. So I'm very big on communication. There are a lot of things to look into aside the financial aspect. Will more men get married? I think so, because if you look at the larger percentage from conversations, you hear that, oh, maybe money, and this is because even those people that I've spoken with, they are good to go, right? From my point of view, or from what I've seen about them, they are good to go. Maybe
the limiting
emotionally,
factor.
on the limiting factor most times is the financial part. Yeah, I think more men will get married, but it is not just about the money. There are also several other things to also look into when considering marriage as well too.
Beautiful. Beautiful take there. Beautiful take there. I used to say this jokingly. permit my use of word, for the young men, they say there are two categories. The first category would say babe day, no budget. The other category would say budget day, no babe. And so from what we're learning now, from what you've shared now, is that for those who've got a babe, no budget, there's a lot to do financially so that a lot can be empowered, taking that decision to get married. And for those who have a budget, no babe, there's a lot of maturity, as it were, from what we've heard the pastor says. There's a lot of maturity to be done so that they can come complete into that marriage. For Pastor Amadi and Pastor D, I would ask finally, what counsel biblically can you give to young adults who are rethinking if they should get married to? Maybe in about 2 minutes, just what counsel, biblical counsel, could you give to the young viewers, subscribers out there who are rethinking if they should get married at all? So,
Well, mine would be to go back to the beginning, which is Genesis chapter 2, verse 18.
okay.
So God saw man that he was lonely, and then he decided to solve his problems. And in solving his problem of loneliness, he also solved other problems that man would encounter, because he had also known that man needed a companion.
Yeah.
You can't be alone. And so he decided to set, according to scripture, that God sets the solitary, the lonely, in families, because God is big on family. God is intentional about family.
Families, yeah.
And it takes a man and a woman to build a family. And the family, why God is built on family, is because of God's purpose for society, for nations. Nations, you don't just see nations. They don't just evolve, they are built.
True.
So that would be my concluding there.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Marriage was God's design so that the man, even the woman, would not be alone. Pastor D, what biblical counsel would you want to wrap up with, sir?
For me, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Question what you believe. Are you building your life on biblical truth or societal expectation or norms? Sometimes we need to unlearn to relearn. So question what you believe. Where is it from? Where did you pick it up from? Is this based on God's word or what the society expects? Two, many young men are attracted only by the physical. The physical is important, but look for values. A woman who is virtuous, who has the right value, will go through life with you regardless of the storms that comes to you. And number three, believe God all the way. If you start and the foundation is built on God, you can rest assured that it can only get better. As the word has said, the path of a righteous man shines more and more. So be bold, embrace what God is bringing your way. And finally, there is no point getting into marriage without knowing God. So continue to develop your love for God and knowing Him more. And every other thing will be as easy as it can get. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful feedback. Thank you so much to all our special guests. I mean, to all our subscribers, our listeners. Where does this leave us? So marriage in today's world is not just a romantic decision from what we've learned. It is a strategic life choice that intertwines money, emotions, and social expectations. For men, the challenge is finding balance by embracing vulnerability, redefining partnership beyond just finances, and building a foundation of communication and trust. Because here's the big truth. Money matters from what we've discovered, what we've discussed, yes. But marriage built only on financial readiness can miss out of the far deeper layers of love, growth, and companionship. Indeed, marriage built only on love without financial planning can also run into painful struggles really quickly. So this may be the real answer It's not about waiting until everything is perfect, but about trusting God, preparing together emotionally, financially, mentally, socially for the journey ahead. This is to all men out there. That's it for today's episode. And if this conversation resonated with you, we ask that you kindly share it with a friend, who is also wrestling with these questions. To all the young men out there, especially on these podcasts, you are not alone. This is a space for your questions, your struggles, your growth. And as always, we ask you to stay tuned for the next deep dive into the issues that will shape us and shape our lives as men. We're looking forward to your questions. We're looking forward to your comments, and we are open for you. So on behalf of the technical crew, the entire podcast team, we want to say a big, big thank you to everyone who made today's podcast possible. First, from our special guest, Pastor D is joining us online. Thank you so much for the time taken, Pastor Ayodeji. We appreciate the time and your presence today. A big shout out to Pastor Amadi. Thank you so much for having you in the house with us. Thank you to the young, amazing, vibrant gentlemen, Joe and Mikey. Which probably should be getting your wedding invites very soon, right?
Very soon.
So, yeah. Thank you so much to the church leadership here at RCCG Region 51, led by the amazing PRM. Of course, Pastor Amadi, the Redeemers Men's Fellowship leadership, led by Pastor Austin and Pastor Mike Aigbe, members of the RMF Excos. We say a big thank you. And of course, all others who, by one way or the other, contributed to the success of today's podcast. We appreciate all the support. Until next time, to all the men out there, I'm Kingsley Ifoga, and this has been the Forge Podcast. We are confident that the next episode will be far more enriching than today's. You can only lean in, lend your voice, and of course, share your concerns because your truth is valid. We'll draw the curtain on today. I say, do have a triumphant week. Keep leading, and I'll see you in the next episode. God bless you. Have a wonderful week ahead.
Until we are found, we be old until we are found. We cover until we have strength. We cover until we have nations wait. We be old until we are found. How long can you wait? We be old until we are found. How long can you wait on me? We be old until we are found. How long can you wait? How long can you wait? We be old until we are found. If it takes